Hi, welcome back to the second episode of Their Migrant Scholar. On today's episode, we have two aspirational women that I can't wait for you to meet in a second. And as usual, we have the co-pilots, Obi and Charles as well. They will be jumping in from time to time to also help me navigate this podcast. Today, I think I particularly need Kane, so my apologies in advance for any blunders that I would make. I will start with the first introduction. I've got the first guest that I want to introduce today. Again, this is something that we're quite passionate about, and hopefully, when you hear their stories as well, it would inspire you. The first guest I do have today to introduce you to is Hilda Kragha. She's currently the MD for Jobs at Rome Africa. Hilda has had years of consulting experience and is quite passionate about using technology to bridge divides across regions in Africa. Prior to joining Rome, Hilda was the engagement manager at McKinsey and Company. Hilda, interestingly, is also an alumni of INSEAD, and we are so honored and happy to have you today on Dear Migrant Scholar. Apologies for all the loose nuts and bolts, and we're happy to have you here. Thank you for your time today, this beautiful
Thank you
Saturday.
so much, guys. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
So the next guest we have is Kemi Onabanjo-Joseph. I had to add that, Joseph. So
They will come and send me back.
So I was just talking with Kemi that I've known Kemi for over 10 a decade, I think, probably like close to 15 years. She's been very good friends. Kemi is currently an associate partner in McKinsey and Company, lots of consulting experience. Prior to that, she also had a stint in Ericsson, and she's an alumni of INSEAD. Now, there's something else about Kemi. She's also the president of one of the leading alumni associations in Nigeria, which is CU. She ran one of the best campaigns I have seen. And I was teasing her that after this presidential campaign, you need to start thinking about some kind of 2023. So that was really cool. It's really good to have you here, and we're excited to have both of you. All right.
It's great to be here. Thank you. And I'm exceptionally excited to be with my friend, Hilda.
Awesome.
This was a good reunion. So thank you.
Very well needed.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
So I'm going to kick off with the first question that we have. I think I can really relate to this question a lot, but it's not from an MBA perspective. I think I'm the only non-MBA on this table. So my books are all open to learn a lot from all four of you. But I can relate to this experience because I know when I was applying for masters as well, there were a lot of voices in my head about what schools to choose, whether it's a Russell Group, Ivy League, whatever it is called, and getting some sort of mentorship through the application process. For you, when did you decide it was time? What prompted that decision to decide to do an MBA? I'll start with you, Hilda.
For me, actually interesting. So I was working at KPMG at the time, and I think I was just guided by the fact that I'm from Uganda, right? And Uganda is a very small country. Uganda is not even the biggest country in East Africa. So if, for example, you're serving a client, it is the Uganda office of the East African subsidiary of the African subsidiary of the global entity. And I kept thinking to myself, at what point do I go global? But I was looking for law schools because I'm a lawyer. It's actually so interesting. I just one day saw like a banner that said B school and I actually thought maybe when you're doing an LLM, there's an A list of schools and a B list of schools. So I was like, maybe if I can't manage these schools, let me check out the B schools as well so I can apply to some safety schools. And I clicked that link and a whole new world opened. Like all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I can do an MBA. Why am I stuck on law? Like all of a sudden, so many different opportunities open up for me. Like I'm not practicing law right now. This gives me so many more opportunities, and that's how the journey started.
Amazing.
Where was this link?
It was on, like when you're doing your master's, right? Like there's typical websites. I think it was like an LLM website. So I was looking at masters in law degrees, masters in business law, whatever. And then like an ad, pretty much at the top hand corner, just said B school. And it's like, okay, let me go to the B list of schools. I'd never, ever even heard about the concept, to be honest. Well, I had like one cousin, 10 years old, that had done an MBA, but it hadn't sunk in how life changing as a program it could be.
It could be.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Kemi, did you have a similar experience as well, or was yours totally different?
Oh, it was a very, very different experience. I was already working in the big school company. So I had, I think I always knew that I was going to go to business school at some point. I think, I mean, I met Obina way, way, way back. I was a tech girl before tech became sexy. Now I'm trying to see if there's still space for me in tech. I'm trying to see if tech will love me again, but I studied computer science in my undergrad, and I knew that I wasn't going to be a coder. My personality wasn't suited to it. Even the times when I did internships, which is where I met Obina, I was never the person designing code. No, I was doing more of the customer facing stuff, doing more of the like design thinking, right? So I knew that I wasn't going to practice for long, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I always knew, and every Nigerian parent kind of low-key wants their child to go to Harvard, right? And so there's a lot of brand visibility for those top schools here in Nigeria where I grew up. And so because I managed not to go to school abroad for my undergrad, I always knew I wanted to do a foreign degree at some point, not for credibility as it were, but just to have that international experience and, be a true global citizen, right?
Exactly.
Not just a local champion. So, true. I mean, and the world is shrinking.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want to just be this local person that, can't engage beyond Badagry. No offense to Badagry. And so by the time I got into McKinsey, this was my 4th year of work, and I'd worked there a few years. Of course, like, consulting is one of the biggest employers of MBA grads, right? So I had met a whole range of MBA grads. I did not need an MBA to continue at McKinsey. I did not need an MBA for any specific consulting career advancement, but I'd always nursed the desire for an international education, a real global education. And so after a while, I figured it was time. I made manager, and I figured this was the right time for me to go. Otherwise, I would just have kept progressing, and there would never be a good enough time. So I had so many resources. A lot of my colleagues were already B school graduates, and I essentially applied to the school that met a few criteria. I know we're going to come to that question, but yeah, there were a few things I was looking out for. And one of them was how the graduates of those schools made me feel when I was, with them.
Yeah, just one quick question, I guess, Hilda and Kemi. So I guess business school, we've sort of trashed out how you selected your business schools. But your first degrees, how did you actually pick those ones? Were they any different from Hilda is laughing? Did your parents mentor you into what you should study, or was it some other role model? How did that?
My grandfather's a lawyer. My uncles are lawyers. My cousins are lawyers. I am a lawyer.
Oh, there you go.
Never crossed my mind, honestly, but there's something else I could do. Never crossed my mind, which is interesting because like now my siblings that came after me, they actually said, no, I don't want to do law. And turns out it was fine. So I could have said no all along, but just easier to go in the way of everybody else.
How did you pick your school?
For my school, I knew I wanted to go to South Africa because at the time, like I'm from Uganda, so South Africa is like a 5-hour flight away. So my parents knew they could come see us anytime. We could go home more often, not like if you're really far away. And then in South Africa itself, we're solving for a place with a good law school. So in Port Elizabeth, for example, but not in a big enough city that there's so much crime. Because I was like 18 years old. So that was a concern of my dad's. So yeah, that was it. Very practical reasons. Very practical.
Nice. Yeah. So Kemi, how did you end up with?
How did I end up with the degree or with the school? Which one?
Well, the degree, yeah. Computer science at that time, like you said, wasn't sexy. So why did you choose computer science?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story because, I was going to be a doctor. So I was going to be a doctor, and I had applied to, a few schools in the States. I was going to go to the States. So I was either going to be in Texas, where we had some family friends, or in Philadelphia. So it was one of those two places. And so I applied to schools there, had my admissions, had my I-20, went to the embassy, boom, no visa.
Wow.
So
Oh my God.
my dreams were crushed.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I remember actually, so for the Nigerians, you probably know where the US embassy is, Walter Carrington, and I lived on the mainland. I wept from Walter Carrington all the way through Third Mainland traffic, all the way to my house in Ogba, Ikeja. I wept. I didn't cry. I wept, you know,
my God.
Wow.
because I didn't have any backup plans, to be honest. I didn't have backup plans. So this was, I was denied my visa July 2020.
Can't be 2020.
Sorry, 2000. July 2003.
Yeah.
And what had happened was, after I did my TOEFL and SAT early in January, I was bored. So I went to visit my cousin who was at Covenant University. And that weekend, they were doing the exams. I guess I used to be a nerd then. I was like, oh, an exam. Let me do an exam. So literally, that's what happened. I just bought the form and, you know, felt I'll just do the exam. This was even before I got denied my visa. So I got admission, but I didn't proceed because I was going to America, of course. And then when America didn't want me no more, I was like, I have one admission somewhere. Let me go and find that place. And funny enough, they had sent the list and you have to accept. Of course, I ignored it. So I went digging for the letter, went all the way to Ogun State to be like, I'm here. So that's how the school came about. Then I kept thinking I was going to transfer after 1 year, after one semester, to go and do my pre-med. So I essentially looked at the course list in Covenant University at the time, which was 9 months old at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, I was second set.
time,
It was
yeah.
prep, exactly, very, very early days. And there were only 4 courses in the College of Science and Technology then. It was computer science, management information systems, computer engineering, information and communications technology. I was like, of these 4, which one of them would give me the best chance of transferring enough credits for my pre-med degree? It was computer science. Boom. That's how it was. That's how I came to the decision.
Yeah.
And then after one semester, I figured I wasn't going anywhere. So I stayed and I finished. So yeah, that's how I chose computer science.
So it's interesting you talked about the visa issue, because I remember when you were thinking of picking a school too, and you picked INSEAD, and you wanted to go to Singapore, there was also visa issues too. So anyway, you know, talk to us how you picked your school, and I know there's also a visa issue too for the Singapore story. So
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, how did I pick INSEAD? A couple of things. One was I looked at my life situation and I figured I did not have 2 years to go to school. And I think it's important for everyone trying to make this decision to always be real with yourself, right? It was going to be 2 years, no income. I was not sponsored because I didn't come in as a business analyst. So consulting firms typically will sponsor business analysts. I didn't come in as a business analyst. I was an experienced hire as a junior associate. And so I didn't qualify for sponsorship. So I was going to be no income, no sponsorship. Basically, I was paying out of pocket. For 2 years, I didn't know how it was going to work. And I still had bills in Nigeria, right? I looked at my life situation and I was like, I cannot afford to be gone for 2 years. So first things first, it had to be a 1-year program. And there were a few options. You know, there's a Kellogg accelerated program that they actually do in collaboration with McKinsey. So you can do a fast track. There was a Columbia accelerated program as well, where you could do a bit of a crash course, 15 months. There was INSEAD. There were a few options. But the second layer was then where of the people that I'd interacted with, what schools did I really like the alum? Right. And for some reason, I think all the INSEAD people I met were just very authentic and very just down to earth. I don't know. There was just something about them that I really liked. the other school, which shall not be named, which my mother would have preferred me to go.
Wow.
Some of the people from there just rubbed me off wrong, So not your own school, not your own school. The other one, we will not name that one. They just used to rub me off wrong. So all the INSEADers I met were just amazing people, right? And I thought, whatever they're giving them in that school, I want to go drink it. So I decided I was going to go to INSEAD. It was the only school I applied to as well, which is very risky. But I thought if I'm going to leave my job, that does not require me to have an MBA, to go to this expensive holiday that I'm going on, it better be good, right? So I picked INSEAD, applied only to INSEAD, and I applied to the Singapore campus because I wanted to experience Asia. I wanted to just go as far away as possible because, with holidays and stuff, I'd explored Europe to an extent. So I thought, let me go to the Singapore campus. But the Singapore campus said, I don't want you. So I took my L. I deferred for 6 months and then went to the Fontainebleau campus in France, which ended up being absolutely amazing. I was also running away from the cold in France, to be honest, which I then experienced, and I probably had like the most miserable 3 months of my life in that winter. But it was a really good experience, and I was very happy to be in one place for a year. Yeah. Because up until that time, I had been living out of a box for maybe 3 years, just with the lifestyle of being a global consultant. So yeah, that's how I chose my school. The people, understanding that I wanted a 1-year program, and then the location was based on what was given to me because of my last.
Because like mine is almost, well, not exactly the opposite, but kind of the opposite in the sense that when I was going to business school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Again, remember, I was trying to do a master's in law. So I knew about consulting. I definitely wanted to work at a place like McKinsey, but I'd never thought it was accessible like to a lawyer like me. So I knew I needed 2 years like to do the internship, figure out what I want to do. And also I was kind of young, relatively speaking. So I just needed that time. I think I was doing applications like when I was maybe 26 or something. And then I applied. So in the first round, I applied to, first of all, why are you talking about applications? Guys, I did the GMAT 3 times. Like I did the first time.
I did it twice.
I took my L. Yeah. Will never say that score. I studied harder, did a second one. I was like, now I can go somewhere. So I took myself with all my ambition and applied to Harvard and Stanford. I didn't get it. I did the GMAT a third time, and I was like, okay, fine. Because there's maybe 2 or 3 issues. There's the GMAT, yes. There's application fees, because I'm working in KPMG in Uganda. Guys, we were earning like maybe $1,000 max. This is like third world, right? Not even tier 1 third world like Nigeria where there's money. So and every
there are levels to this third world thing.
Exactly. So every application is like $250, right? So me of my salary of 1,000 gross, I can't afford those applications. So after I did the third GMAT, I was like, okay, fine. Before you do more applications, this is now like January, do open day. And then I also like humbled myself. Okay, fine. Realistically speaking, would you rather be in Europe or America? Be in Europe, it's close to home, etc. In terms of fees, a little bit lower. In terms of GMAT score, also a little bit more lenient, right? So I went to London Business School to the open day, and I went to IESE's open day. And I've always been drawn to the Opus Dei and like that kind of living. But I just stepped in Barcelona, and I knew this is my home. Like, oh my God, that city. Everything was perfect. It's so beautiful. You go from London weather to Barcelona weather. Already that's just like a night and day. Then the school itself and like that whole Opus Dei like ethos, like, serving God like with your talents and really being dedicated to it just really, really drew me in. And so I made the choice and I applied and I got in. And clearly that was where I was meant to be.
Oh. These are very inspirational stories, and I really relate to your visa experiences because I was also denied visa to come to the UK, by the way, and I don't know what happened that year, but it's one of those things. So the conversation now during this MBA and again with the schools that you've chosen. As females, were there or let me just say, as females, as Africans, and then as minorities as well, was there an experience, a peculiar experience that actually maybe rocked you to probably decide, maybe I want to be a voice for my people, or maybe I want to show these people that I am actually here to make a difference? Was it something, was there an experience noteworthy that you would want to share with us, either as a female or as a minority, or was it just a place where everybody just didn't worry about, where you came from or your sex? I'll start with you, Kemi. What was your experience like? Listen, there's a lot of story.
I don't know, Hilda. Okay, okay. Let me start. Let me start from the more like serious stuff, and then I'll talk about the not so serious things. So it was my first time. I mean, I'm fully homegrown Nigerian, right? So born, bred, schooled, undergrad, worked, everything in Nigeria. And even though while I was at McKinsey, I have before INSEAD, after INSEAD, McKinsey experiences, right? Before I went to INSEAD, even though I'd done global projects, I'd worked in the Middle East, I'd worked in Tunisia, I'd done projects in South Africa, all of that. It was always kind of in a bit of a bubble, right? So it was a very well curated, team experience. And even when I went to those countries and I was working from there, within the client context, there was a lot of diversity, right? So I never felt like a minority. Going away to business school in France was the first time I really felt like a minority in my whole life. And I think I was, for real, I was, 28 when I went to business school. It was the first time I felt like a minority. It was the first time I realized how dark-skinned I was. Because in Nigeria, I was yellow, I was a light-skinned man. And so it was the first time I would see pictures. I'd be like, what? Who is this black human being?
Can't be seen in the
I
photo.
cannot be seen. Like the only thing you see is my teeth. Like what? I honestly was so shocked. So it was the first time I was a minority, and I think, it did some things to me. In the beginning, it was rough because I felt so out of place. I felt so, my accent, all of a sudden I could hear my Yoruba accent very strongly. This was me. I thought I was a good English speaker, It's like, I was acutely aware of how different I was. And INSEAD is a school that, thrives on diversity. One of its, bragging rights is that it has usually 70 plus nationalities in each class.
Yeah.
However, there's still a lot of underrepresentation of, Africans. So I was still one of the, few sprinkles of Africans that were there. So I really felt my difference. And it was the first time I was a minority. So it was, my self-esteem took a blow. It was not easy, but we made it, What that has done for me is given me a lot of empathy. Right, so I'm now that I'm back home and I'm in the majority again. I'm aware when there's an outsider, I have a sense of how they can be feeling, and so I usually would take, extra steps to help them feel welcome and all of that, which is what some of my classmates did for me, and helped me, settle in. Of course, what also happens is you then find your people like you, right? So you end up, bonding with a lot of other Africans. I also found as an extension of Africans, I was also drawn to Desi people.
Yeah.
So Indians, Pakistani, I think it was just on the, color spectrum. They were the next people to us. So, we're kind of in the same boat. And so we bonded. And so some of my closest friends are from there. And I don't know if it was just, struggle mentality that we were bonding, but it worked out. And I guess there was some, similarity and all that. I think the other sort of people I bonded with were Iberians.
Yeah, exactly.
So Spanish people, Portuguese people. They also had I felt there was just that spirit, that joy de vivre, that warmth, right? I could feel it with them, and so I was still friends with a lot of people. I ended up being valedictorian, right? And for being valedictorian, your class selects you. So it's not about academics. Your class actually selects you. So I guess I did something right in terms of connecting with different pockets of people broadly. But I think being in the minority made me appreciate community, right? And just, finding people that look like you. On the not so serious side of things, I felt like, I don't know if you felt the same thing, but I felt like black girls were at the bottom of the dating food chain.
So I
I feel like they were like blonde girls, then they were like, Spanish chicatos. I don't know. And then it was like after everybody else hooked up, there will be that even I don't know, Hilda, is in my head. I've never said this thing out publicly, but I feel like we were at the bottom of
I felt that,
chain.
but at the same time, I felt that there was like a fetish thing going on as well, in the sense that like, oh my god, your black skin is so beautiful. Oh my god, your hair. And it's not like you're looking for serious relationship or anything, but it's like I'm a curiosity you've never seen before, and you want to experience me. Does that make sense? I think you're right. It's like in the bottom of the food chain until it's just for. I touch your skin. Like I actually had somebody lick my face on the bus stop. Like, oh my god, your black skin looks like chocolate. Yeah, like that kind of like fetishizing. I guess because you've not seen the before. So yeah, but I feel you. I think for me, first of all, you're right. Even me, I never felt as a minority till I went to business school. I never been in a place where there's just so few black people, or where like people look at me as a minority, even as a woman, right? I had zero conception of what that meant for me or my life. And at first, I carried it all as a burden on my head. Being a person in class, when they bring back up like a black case study, you're like this. Partly because we expect you to be like that. And then like one day I was like, you know what? No, I'm just done. Like, this is so exhausting. I'm also trying to figure out for myself, like, what does this mean for me? There's lots going on. I can't be like the token of blackness, right? Like, I can't be carrying this on top of my head every single time. But what had happened for me later on in business school, so like by second year of business school, I really was just like, I'd taken a backseat for real. Like I was still doing things like Africa Business Club, but I was really not trying to defend the black agenda, honestly. And it's because we're so few and the questions are always coming to you. And it's a responsibility and I was just not ready for it. But it got me thinking, and I think later on, right after business school, coming to Nigeria and being at McKinsey and seeing more people have experienced that, is when I began to think of myself like, okay, what do I stand for in this world? Like, who do I want to champion? I want to champion women, just women, not just women, black women. What does this look like and why? But while I was in business school, the whole idea of minority and minority rights, etc., just confused me. Like, I had never encountered it, and it was such a huge burden, and I dropped it down to the side eventually. Yeah, for better or for worse, that's the truth. Yeah. Yeah, I just said, here to live my best life and to be in school. All your black questions, sorry, it can't be me.
This is a good way to transition to kind of, can you just talk to us about what the highlight of your MBA was? I don't know, maybe we'll go with Hilda first. You want to start?
Oh my God, there's so many. I don't know how to think about it. Multiculti, right? I don't know how to think about it. But for me, if I was thinking about it, it was a mindset shift, right? Like before I went to business school, I was extremely conservative. Like I grew up in a very religious family. My idea of a good person was a Christian, and maybe and everything else is bad. And I just had I didn't quite understand like what global dynamics were when it comes to like interpersonal relations, and the fact that you can have friends from different backgrounds, from different parts of life, different beliefs, and that's not a barrier. And it changed my way of thinking, because had I not had that moment of revelation, I would have left IESE and gone straight back to Uganda, by the way, back to my safe people and live my life that way. But being able to embrace that change and say, okay, fine, I know you are from, as you said, Desi, right? And you pray to 1,000 gods, but that's still okay. And then, I know I don't have an idea of like what's going on in your life, but then we vibe on some level and that's okay. We don't have to be the same. And being able to embrace that was my highlight. Like when I think about it, of course there's moments like multiculti you say, and like my internship and all the friendships and travel, but my mind is what changed the most. Like there's clearly a Hilda pre-business school and a Hilda after business school. Yeah.
I would say it's very similar for me. I always tell my younger friends that I met myself in business school.
Yeah.
Like I met I met another side of me, and I think that side of me that I met is kind of what I've carried forward now. So who did I meet? I met this person who was not afraid to just try. I think it was the first time in my life that I was actively going to learn things I did not know. I mean, if you grew up in an African society, I guess, like good grades are the most important things to your parents, right? So what happens is, to be able to maintain good grades, you stay in your comfort zone. You continue to do subjects that you are very familiar with and you're very comfortable with, and you don't rock the boat too much. I think business school was the first time that I was like, I don't understand marketing. I'm going to go and learn marketing, right? I don't understand, consumer behavior. I'm going to take a course in consumer behavior. Because I'm coming from a low base of knowledge, I likely will not be the best. I will not earn the best grades there. Because if you put me and somebody who's worked in marketing exactly for 10 years and they give us the same exam, of course they'll do better than me. But I think it was the first time that I released myself from the pressure of grades and really leaned into learning. And it's a very different mindset. So it's not about, what you score. It's about what you've learned. And I did a lot of, out of my range courses, because I figured, number one, I'm paying the school fees by myself. So
as well.
I don't have anybody to take the report card through. The report card is for me.
Right.
The second thing is, if I'm paying this much, I better be getting the most value out of it. If it's something that I could have just learned on Google or on some, MOOC, I should not have bothered spending all this hard currency. And I went to business school in the middle of the massive devaluation in Nigeria in 2015. So that was the kind of school fees I was paying, converting at double the amount. So I just thought, like, if I'm here, let me get the most out of it. And so I think it was the first time that I actively switched on my growth mindset, right? And leaned into learning. That's one of the highlights for me. All the things that I learned that I ordinarily would not have learned, because I literally put aside the pressure for grades and said, I'm going to go learn. I think the other thing would be the relationships, right? The people that I met, the bonds that I formed. I got married 3 years after graduation, and there was a whole contingent. Like there was a whole INSEAD crew that was at the wedding that came from Australia, the UK, India, Cameroon, South Africa. Like they all showed up. And I literally had a whole itinerary for them, and spend time with them before, spend time with them after. And it was such a beautiful moment, because it felt like, this is why we went to school, right? This is why we didn't do an online degree. It's because of those relationships, right? So the highlights for me would be just expanding my mind, meeting myself. I started writing again when I went to business school. So now I write a newsletter every week. I have a blog, but that writing gift really manifested right when I went to business school. And so I met myself. I leaned into learning. My growth mindset just like opened up. And the people that I met are just priceless. So yeah, it's a very strange thing that going to school does that to you, but it did that for me. And just opened me up in a very, very profound way.
Both your stories really resonate with me because, as you, Hilda, I was a very conservative girl. I grew up in Onitsha, right? And all my life was in Onitsha. So I think my first out of Onitsha or Anambra experience was in Lagos. And for me, coming to the UK was quite a shocker as well. There were certain things that some people did that I didn't understand. But the whole experience of, really learning about the cultural differences and appreciating it as well, making friends outside the circle of people you would normally make friends with, understanding different work cultures, that did a lot for me. And understanding myself, because certain things, if from my own perspective of being Christian, it's bad. I cancel you. I don't talk to you. But that's not the way life is, That's not the way life is. You learn that there are differences for a reason, and you appreciate that difference, and you also learn from people as well.
This podcast is brought to you by IESE Business School, also known as IESE. IESE is one of the world's leading business schools dedicated to continuous growth and progress. Since 1958, this institution has formed global leaders, making a deep, positive, and lasting impact on people, businesses, and society. IESE Business School focuses on creating positive professional excellence, integrity, and spirit of service, using programs that enhance transformative personal and professional growth. Think IESE. It's a way to learn, a mark to make, a world to change.
I think Obi wanted to mention something.
I was going to talk about what Kemi said when it comes to learning, because I remember in second year, I had some classmates who were running away from, first year you have to do accounting, like to find, I have an engineering background, right? So second year, a lot of people were skipping the deep finance classes, like corporate finance. And for me, honestly, you guys, everyone was financial modeling. People were running away from those classes. I was like, I came here to learn. I'm going to do those classes. So I was like leaning in and just making sure I spent time to get all I can when it comes to finance. So I was taking all those crazy classes even in second year. So I can definitely relate to that.
I think for me it was more of a learning to pass. Nigerian mentality shine through with finance.
Anyway, no, I think it's been a great conversation so far. Just considering that the target audience here are typically Africans who want to experience some of the ups and downs and get a bit of global knowledge through MBAs. I just wanted to get your perspective. So typically, in B school, there's always this push for people wanting to try what they call the triple jump, try a career outside of their home countries. And also, in your cases, both of you came back to Africa. What was that transition back like for you? Why did you choose, I guess, in your case, maybe Kemi for you was a bit more, defined given that you were coming back to your job. But maybe Hilda, was there some temptation to try to work outside of Africa?
I'm trying to think. I never applied, to be honest, the first company I applied to was McKinsey. Like, I knew I wanted to work at McKinsey. I applied to BCG and the rest, but I knew that this is what I wanted to work. Like, all my effort, like 90, like when it's application, when the career services people are just like praying for you, this thing goes through because you're not applying anywhere else. But at the same time, I was very curious about Europe. I wanted to stay. I think that's something even today, like I constantly have debates, like, should I be live somewhere? But when I kept thinking, I've been born and raised in East Africa. I went to school in South Africa. If I got West African experience, I'll become truly Pan-African. So that was like a thing for me. And it was, if I get into McKinsey, I want to go to the Lagos office. But had I not got into McKinsey, I don't know, because I think I'd have applied to roles in Europe. I don't think I could say, like, I specifically said I must go back home. I came on because I got a job with a company I wanted to work for. And I'd have followed whatever good opportunity wherever it had taken me. I was young, I was single, and like Kemi, I didn't have a job waiting for me. I was looking, so it was about really like who's giving me the offer. Which interviews am I passing? Because it's a hustle. Like, that's the thing about B school that people don't realize. If you don't have a secure job, you're literally spending a lot of your time doing nothing but networking, applications, etc. So as soon as you get one golden offer, you breathe out, and I think some people keep looking after that. I stopped looking. I was like, yes, guys, I'm going to Lagos. Let's do it.
Nice.
I think as soon as you came to Lagos, I left.
That's true, but actually, because we had like an onboarding session in South Africa, and Kemi was a facilitator, and it was such an amazing thing for me because she just made me feel like, don't worry, you can hack it, Like, my very first time coming to Nigeria, it was the same flight as Kemi, and it was one of those calming spirits, like, don't worry, you can hack it, like, you'll be fine.
She's hacking it.
I know, 6 years later, I'm still hacking it.
Yeah, you're hacking it.
Yeah, because I'd actually never been to Nigeria. I didn't have any friends here. I didn't have any family. Like, my McKinsey friends became my family. It was like a whole new adventure for me. But yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Hilda. Kemi, when you came back, what was it like? I guess there was a contingent waiting for you. It's like, hey, valedictorian.
That was with her talking drum. Unfortunately, not.
It's like, no, I mean, good on you for that. Like you said, it wasn't just academics. Being able to, get that, understand all your classmates, that different nationalities, different backgrounds, and being able to be voted valedictorian. I actually think, it's actually, something of worthy, that we can celebrate. So, what was it like when you came back to work? Did you feel that sense of, okay, at least I know what I'm doing, what I'm saying now. I understand a little bit more about how people think, how people, the mindset and all that. What was it like? You wanna just?
Yeah, so I mean, this job was not waiting for me.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
really?
It wasn't.
Oh wow! I thought it was.
When I left, I resigned. Right?
Oh
Yeah, I
wow!
resigned.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
there are no study leaves, right?
true,
So
you're right.
I was not an analyst. So I was not sponsored. So I just said, I'm going.
yeah.
Okay, bye bye. So I left. But this is the thing: you don't burn bridges, right?
That's
so
true.
I firmly believe that we don't burn bridges as long as they're not, detrimental to your health or to your wellness. And so I was so sure that I wasn't going to come back to Nigeria immediately because I thought I've done Nigeria all these 28 years. Let me go and do something else somewhere and eventually come back, right? I always knew that I was going to come back to Nigeria. I always knew that Nigeria was always my long-term plan. And what had happened was just before I went off, I had done work with in the public sector, and I think it just captured me. I felt like one of the things that's missing in our construct, we don't have strong institutions, right? It's part of the reasons why, we're not where we need to be. So we don't have strong institutions. And what makes strong institutions is the people, right? It's, having competent people in the policy space, having competent people in the civil service, delivering all of these amazing projects and plans that we don't have a shortage of. And I saw that there was a real dearth of, capacity in the public sector. And so the business environment will always be not ideal because the people making the decisions and the people making the policies and the people implementing are not the best talent. I look at the most advanced economies in the world, right? They're best graduates, they're best talent.
Going to government.
Going to government, they're going to public, into civil service, right? And so you can see that talent, you can see it reflected in those economies. And so as I started doing work in the public sector, I was like, this is what is missing here, because here it's the reverse.
Yeah.
It's the people who don't get the top jobs in the private sector and in MNCs and all of that are going to the public sector, right? And that's why we have what we have today. So after doing public sector work, I knew that I wanted to come back and do that work. But I thought I was going to do it after 2 years. So I thought, let me go somewhere. Again, this was devaluation. Let me go earn some hard currency
FX.
somewhere, recover from the tax goals that the economy had given to me, and then, come back with my accent and, make
I just got back, yeah.
I just go back accent. But as I continued, I was interviewing, like I didn't have a job, like I was interviewing and all of that. There were many constraints from, work permits. Brexit had just happened
Yeah, that's true.
then. So all the socio-political conditions were not right, at that point in time. What also happened was I had a family situation that needed me to be back home. And so even though I was torn and I was like, I wish I was going somewhere else to go and, XYZ. And I'm a realist, as you can tell. I look at my situation, I say, okay, what's the best course of action? Then we move. So with all of those things happening, it was tough to get a work permit with my passport. Brexit was happening. There was a lot of uncertainty in Europe. Even, the UK, which was usually the popular destination for English speakers, because there's also language constraints, right? Exactly. So if you're not speaking German, Spanish, or French, you're constrained to maybe the UK, Netherlands, and maybe Berlin. Maybe those three places are the places that will take you. Brussels, right? So all of those things, and I went to INSEAD and I was trying to pick up French, but I knew I could not do complex problem solving. I was unable to. I cannot think deep in French.
Exactly.
In fact, on some days of the
be a
week, I
trophy
think
wife.
in Yoruba, I think in my mother tongue, then I translate it to English, and then I communicate. So I knew that it was going to be really hard for me to be an exceptional professional in a place where I wasn't like doing the first order thinking in English. So all of those things, and then I needed to be back home for my family. I just thought, okay, let me go home and let me go and start this thing I wanted to do after 2 years. Let me just start early. right, and go back and continue to do work in that space. And since I've been back, actually, I've been doing, I mean, now I do 100% of my work in the public and social sector space, right? So I think that passion, plus all the situational things, led me to where I am now, and that's how I came back. So then I said, McKinsey, I'm coming back. Well, let's talk. So I had a few pseudo interviews because it must be documented that there was a hiring process somewhere there, and that's how I came back. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I actually didn't know that you resigned.
I
didn't
did,
know. I just saw you back in office and assumed, boom, Kemi is back.
Exactly. Everyone was waiting that Kemi is coming back. Kemi is coming back.
It wasn't sure that Kemi was coming back. In fact, I got an offer in Dubai.
For real?
I got an offer in Dubai.
Wow.
But I think I was just like, let me just come home.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. So now, I mean, thinking back after all these years, like, if you look back, is there like any advice you would give? So the reason I ask this question is we're going to have people listening to this who are looking to make that change in their career or who are MBA applicants. Thinking back now, like, what advice would you give yourself as an MBA applicant? If you look back, is there like anything you would change in your approach? Like,
so as an MBA applicant and as a student, or just applicant, right? I would say
yes, let's do applicant.
The first thing is, there's lots of good schools. Not every good school is the right school for you. I know everybody's like, oh, you need to shoot for these schools or whatever, but no, I don't think it's about that. If you look at like where the top companies hire, there's quite a broad spectrum, right? Like, I don't think, and somebody told me this as well, like, if you can't go wrong if you apply to the top 20, right? It's going to be same quality of education, but it's about the vibe, the kind of people, the kind of lecturers. As you said, do you vibe with people from that school or not, right? So that's one thing to think about. Like, read in depth about the schools and figure out like which is a match for your personality type, as opposed to the hype out there, right? Otherwise, you'll be very miserable, spend lots of money, and it's 2 years, or even it's 1 year, right? One is a long time to be miserable. So that's the first thing I would say. And then the second thing I would say is like take the process seriously. Like, everybody thinks, no, you just wake up and get into B school, but actually no, there's lots of preparation, there's lots of essay writing. Like, get people around you can actually help you review this stuff. Like, dedicate some time to it. Like, personally, I remember like when I was studying for the GMAT, I used to get to the office maybe like at 4:30 a.m. every single day and study before I started work. And even the office was laughing at me, like, man, what's going on with you? But I knew, like, this is, yeah, exactly. I was like, this is a serious goal for me, and I want to accomplish it this year. And the time goes by so fast when you're applying, right? The other thing is rejections are normal. Again, there's a business school for you out there. Some will reject you. That does not mean you're a failure. That does not mean you're doomed. I mean, I didn't get into Harvard or Stanford, but I ended up at McKinsey, right? So there's no such thing as like a set formula. Like, just divorce yourself from all those things and focus on the right school for you. And save.
Awesome. Save. Especially when you're saving in Naira.
Save.
No, I said you should stop saving in Naira anymore. No more saving in Naira.
Oh man, I think Hilda has said it all. Find the school that is right for you. I mean, maybe don't be like me and apply to just one school. Maybe apply to. I feel very blessed and lucky that I got into the school that I wanted. But I think find the school that is right for you, and the way to find that is attend open days, do research, talk to graduates of that school, right? Actually engage with graduates of that school. And I find that people are usually happy to, connect and talk about their business schools.
Yeah.
It's almost as if like every alum wants to, recruit new candidates for their school, for their alma mater. So talk to people. It's getting into the school that is right for you is almost like a job. It's a project that you have to dedicate time, resources to. So you need to take it seriously. It's not just going to, some people say, hey, I got admission in this school. I just saw an email in my inbox. They gave me admission. It doesn't happen like that for a lot of people, right? So I think even if you're giving honorary admission, it's because your profile is really strong and they see something in you that they want. But for business schools, usually, the demand is usually greater than the supply. So you will be the one to have to go and get what you want. So dedicate time, dedicate resources, take it properly. Rejections are normal. My rejections came from scholarship applications. I
McKinsey, I
applied
know you
to
don't qualify.
every possible, because and the first line of my scholarship application is, although I am at McKinsey, I am not sponsored. Because I was like, I don't want these people to think that I'm trying to get extra cash, right? But I think apply to as many scholarships as you can. Every dollar matters. People that I know that I enjoyed business school the most are people who had different sources of funding, and they were able to have that that kind of cushion. So apply to as many scholarships as you can. Need-based scholarship, female scholarship, African scholarship, STEM scholarship, any scholarship you see, just apply. Even if it looks like you're not eligible, apply, because you never can tell. Sometimes they don't have enough applicants, and so they're looking for people to give this money to. So apply to as many scholarships as you can. The reason why this is important for people like us is because funding is one of the biggest barriers to actually going to get an MBA. And so, right now there are more options in terms of scholarships and all of that, which is part of the things that, being alumni helps us to do, advocate, so that there's more representation and all that. But, apply for every scholarship possible. I think the last thing I would say is, when you get into school, like, as part of your fund raising, don't just raise like your tuition and your house rent and all of that. A lot of the learning happens outside of the classroom.
And it's not free.
And it's not free. So these treks, these dinners, these field trips are not free. But that's where the magic happens. That's where the bonding happens. And I keep saying, in class, you can't be gisting with your friend. Like in class, there can only be one speaker. And it's usually going to be the facilitator or whoever they've asked to, kind of answer a question or respond. Where are you going to have the time to actually, forge these relationships, which are usually one of the priceless things you get from, an MBA? It's in those out of class moments. And so those things are not cheap. Oh, we're all going to Barcelona.
I know. We're going to Japan.
We're going to Japan.
Oh, Barcelona, then Japan.
Barcelona, then Japan. In fact, when you mentioned Japan, it's so true, because it was on my flight back from Japan that my heart was so activated that I started writing.
Yeah,
awesome. And that was literally my first blog post, and then it's become something that I've been doing for 5 years now. I feel like if I did not go on that Japan trip, I probably would not have been so stimulated to write, right? But the only reason why I could take that trip was because I had the funds for it. So as you save, understand that there's school fees, there's living expenses, but there's also, we can call it a learning extracurriculars fund that you need to be able to really get the full value from this experience. It's going to be really bad if you go and you can't engage outside. You might as well have just done an online degree and be in the comfort of your home, so make sure you prepare for that as well.
I think related to that, and this is maybe my personal experience, but I know many people as well, is like take out time to actually invest in financial literacy. Like a lot of us you're coming from Africa, even if you had a good salary, it's not that great. But also if you're coming from a place where you live with your parents, for example, you've never really had to manage like your entire financial spectrum. You're going to business school, you're taking out loans, you're getting scholarships, and you have to plan for all this yourself, right? And I think it's very easy to just like go broke, first of all, or to end up like not meeting all the obligations, or you just turn around and you're confused. Even after business school, you get the big job and you still can't manage your money because you just like, and not because it's deliberate, it's just that historically speaking, you've just never had that much money to manage. If you get a scholarship, for example, for your living expenses, you wake up one day and boom, 30k euros on your account, right? If you don't know the basics of budgeting and planning, and these are things we're not taught in school, and if you're not from a wealthy background, you've not even seen before, right? It's a real struggle. Like I struggled a lot with it initially, because like, I have all this money in my account, I can go and buy new things. And I had to speak to like friends who were like, "Oh no, I got the same scholarship, but what I've done in the bank is every month they give me this amount, and there's a block for the rest." I was like, "Ah, that's smart because I'm here spending like 5 months money in 1 month. Like, I need help." And I think if you know you're going to business school and you've got an admission, that's one thing you can do. Like, there's so many people these days, both in Africa and abroad, where you spend like $100 or something and really, really understand, like just get yourself literate when it comes to managing money, especially like from Naira to FX or Uganda shillings to FX. It's something you need.
You also need that in Nigeria.
Doesn't say Naira to
Naira,
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Kemi, just to transition into the alumni piece, you talked about you talked a bit about that. Now, I mean, you lead one of the most engaged alumni groups in the country. We talked about that earlier, around one of the really good campaign. So now I know a lot of alumni groups actually look up to CU, CU alumni, to see how they can improve things. But my question to you is, now, what kind of advice would you give to groups out there that are looking to make more impact to the people who are graduating from their schools, or people who are looking to either go improve their lives? Like, what kind of advice would you, like, let's say two advice you can give to groups looking to help their alumni improve the life of their members, to prepare them for the future of work, right? Which is very important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is that understanding that, the only recruitment pipeline you have for alumni is the school. So once you understand that, it actually helps to, help you shift your mind to understanding that you are not doing the undergrads a favor by, engaging with them. You're doing yourself a favor by engaging with them, right? Because students ultimately become alumni, right? There's no other place to recruit alumni from.
That's true.
And so that's the first mindset shift I think I would encourage like the leaders of these groups to have. The earlier you can engage, the more your chances, or the higher your chances of actually having alumni that are engaged and active. There's research, and I've seen it, right? A lot of people don't engage with their alumni until like 5 years after they've graduated, right? Because in those first few years, they're just trying to survive, man. Trying to get a job, pay off your loans, whatever it is. Establish yourself. And it's only when you feel kind of stable that you start looking around and say, hey, what is that alumni that they're saying? What are they doing there? And, how can I support? However, if you have planted the right seeds and cultivated them while they were undergraduates, you will always be somewhere at the back of their minds. Remember that there's so many competing priorities. Like, life is happening, So I think just starting early is important. So what do you need to do? What advice would I give? Two things. One is listen to the people that you're looking to serve. And it seems like very basic advice, but a lot of us design programs and build things from our own experiences. However, our experiences are worlds apart from the experiences that current undergraduates are having. Like, I know we all struggle to say we're still millennials, we're young and all that, but even within the millennial group, there are very varied experiences. And even within like the Gen Z group, there are also very varied experiences. So there's value in just listening and understanding what the needs are. So engaging with them, whether it's by surveys. Surveys are like the weakest way to get the real gist, by the way. But I think going on ground, doing some sort of focus group, some town halls, just understanding what's going on, what do you need, what are the biggest issues that you're facing, and all of that, right? That's one way to do it. So I'll give you a quick example of where this was on managing money, right? I did think when I was an undergraduate, nobody taught me how to manage money. So I want to build a financial literacy program. And honestly, the beginning was, it will be about saving and budgeting, because I thought that was what they needed.
Yeah.
And then I engaged with some of the young guys and actually did a survey. Maybe about 200 people responded, which was very impressive. And it turns out they know how to save. They know everything about budgeting. Where the gap is investing.
Yeah.
If I did not, do that extra step of going to listen to understand what the needs were, would have built this very, very great program that doesn't meet their needs, because they already know the basics of saving and budgeting and all of that, and it's really investing that was the gap. So I would say listen. It's a bit painful because it means that you need to kind of get over yourself and get into the heads of the people that you want to serve and really do things for them. But listening is priceless. That way you're able to design things that are fit for purpose for them. I think the second thing that I would encourage is collaborations, right? You cannot do everything by yourself. And so when you understand the needs, who are the people who are experts at this that you can work with to deliver these things for them? So for example, for everyone who's graduating from Covenant University now, we have, we've partnered with the lady who has a program called the Employable Graduate, right? So it's workplace readiness, and we give it to everyone. You have access to it. There's how do you think about your CV? How do you think about the world of work? And they have like demos and all of that, right? So I know it's impossible for me or the alumni team to deliver that consistently, but let's find somebody who does it, right?
Yeah.
And let's partner with them to actually help with workplace readiness and all of that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, so collaborations for that, even this financial education program, we're collaborating with another organization to build it and, deliver it. Collaborations in terms of, working with organizations and understanding what do these organizations need from their future prospective employees, and then taking that back and designing programs to actually meet those needs. So, listen out for what the needs are on both sides and then collaborate to deliver on these things. The rewards might not show immediately. I think this alumni business is a long game because people are students for 4 or 5 years, but they're alums forever, right? So you might not get them in the first few years, but if you just consistently continue to offer value, listen out, give them what they need. There might be uptake, there might not be uptake, but eventually it will convert, right? And people will begin to see the value of the things that you're offering, as long as you continue to tweak it and you stay consistent in offering it to them. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's pretty cool.
Apparently, that's the thing. You have to be cool, You have to be real. that's the stuff she's been telling us.
I mean, if your constituents on Instagram, you go and meet them there. Let's go. Meet them there.
Meet your constituents where they are. Yeah, but that's a very valuable point,
Yeah.
Right. Chiamaka.
Yeah. Just piggybacking on, the conversation about work readiness. Now, what we have seen happen in Africa recently now, there's an explosion of opportunity, especially within the tech space. There's interest in, a lot of startups springing up here and there. And even with the bad governance, especially from the Nigerian perspective, somehow we still get funding, foreign direct investments in Nigeria. My question for you, Hilda, is now seeing all of this spotlighting on opportunities being created, how do you think young grads can take advantage of this cross-border opportunities? Because this is not just created within Nigeria. We see collaborations with across Africa and Europe and other countries. How can young grads take advantage of these global opportunities and, also working with highly talented small teams? Because the people making these changes are actually entrepreneurs, bringing this attraction are entrepreneurs. How can they work effectively and efficiently within these small entrepreneurial teams, from your own experience?
Oh, maybe this is controversial, but you remember how when we were getting to the workspace 10, 15 years ago, and there was this whole thing of, everybody wants your entry level, everybody wants experience, right? Where are you supposed to buy experience from? I feel like now, especially in a post-COVID era, it's the first time where you can actually get experience because a lot of people are self-taught. There's opportunities to earn and practice. Upwork, Fiverr, so many different platforms, right? You can literally go on YouTube, teach yourself something, and begin to monetize it, right? I feel like, in my opinion, the best way to capture opportunities as a young graduate is to do that. So don't sit around waiting to apply to jobs and get a job. That will happen. And, I really want that to happen for you. But it will be better off if by the time that happens, you're even more prepared because there's literally no barrier to lifelong learning. There's no barrier to skill development, especially if you've got some level of access, right? I know some people don't have access, and that's a different challenge to solve. But in as much as you have access to learning, learn and practice your skills. There's people making thousands of dollars a month on Instagram, selling their courses, their talent, their gifts. There's people who are, just setting up profiles on GitHub and beginning to write code and see how that goes. And when eventually invited for an interview, you who has, the last 18 months of work you've put in versus a person that's very, very qualified but has not put in all that, it's a game changer. You want to be global, this is the way to be global. From Upwork, you can serve clients literally all over the world, right? You start off with a $5 an hour rate, you end up with a $50, $100 an hour rate. It's possible. We're seeing it happen. Literally, Coursera, what's it called, the Udemy. There's a bunch of ways right now that you can learn and begin to earn. The job bit is great, but it's no longer the major part of the equation. And even like in my work, for example, one of the things that we're seeing is that there's less, even in tech, there's less full-time jobs and more gigs, right? Because the more talented you are, the more you can earn from everywhere else. It's so hard to keep tech talent right now, especially in Nigeria, because they'll tell you, if I'm contracting, I can make $100,000. I'll put my profile is up on all the right places, and this is what I'm making.
Right.
And I'm making from my house. And you want me to come into an office every day in Lagos traffic? What are you offering me? So the opportunities are definitely way beyond that, but also you have to think beyond employment. It has to be more about like a sustainable way to earn a decent living with or without the employment framework. And with that means so you have to prepare yourself in terms of your hard skills, your soft skills, your surrounding network. This is why Kemi went to marketing class, because if you decide to do that gig route, you need to know how to market your skills, build your own pipeline, build your own funnel, and you can be very successful that way. And there's people who do that, and then eventually you apply for a job because oh my God, I would love to do this job. And of course you will not get an entry-level salary. You cannot. You already have an earning track record. Nobody's going to come and bring you down. So you find 27-year-olds really, really making a lot of money because when they step into your office, you can't offer them what you're offering another 27-year-old. They're showing you their receipts and track record of earning. So if you're a young graduate, focus on hard transferable skills that you can develop and earn with, whether or not you have a job. That's what I would say.
Is the focus just on, sorry, just to ask further, is the focus just on hard skills? Because these days, I think I was reading something that employers are more likely to employ someone who also has very good soft skills. You might have the hard skills, but of course you do need soft skills to complement that. You need to have a good work culture as well. Because if you're someone who's just technical and you don't have people relation and also relate with people, that's a challenge in itself as well. What do you think about this?
So soft skills are definitely important, and Kemi, feel free to chip in if you want, but you have to know how to work with people, you have to know how to resolve conflict, you have to be a pleasant person to work with, for lack of a better word, right? Even if you're an entrepreneur, you won't get referrals, you won't get repeat business. So it's a skill you need. So it's not just about the technical skills. I think the point I was just trying to make was around, you don't have to wait for an employer for all those things to happen for you.
Yeah.
And I think I even call those skills strategic skills, because sometimes when you say soft skills, all this hard guy, they don't want soft skills. I'm like, let's give it a fancy name. Strategic skills, so that people can pay attention to it. But strategic skills essentially, how do you conflict resolution? Right. Somebody sent me a stinker of an email yesterday. I've just been looking at the email. I was like, I don't even know where to start. But I know that my conflict resolution skills is where I need to, lean in to be able to resolve that. Problem solving skills, right? Creative thinking skills, critical thinking skills. Those things are soft skills, but they're strategic skills, right? Communication skills. In this world of shorthand and autocorrect, being an effective communicator will stand you out, right? So how are you able to write? Some people have great ideas, but they just can't write it. So your communication skills, both verbal and written, are things that, can stand you out. Those things, they're not always taught in school.
That's super important.
Not every employer will train you on it as well. So actually spending time in self-development,
Yeah.
and making sure that you come ready is non-negotiable.
Yeah. I think even like just adding another set of skills is like self-management and self-regulation, as per your stinker email, right? Being able to be measured in the workplace. Not that you can't have an outburst, because everybody has that, but understanding like yourself, your emotions, your temperament, like in which environment, in which environment am I most successful? You know, what are my triggers? How do I make sure I'm not just going around burning bridges because I don't understand myself, right? You know, how do you learn to breathe, to take a break? Like, what's my breaking point? And a lot of that is like self-discovery, but you can also like take deliberate effort and learning to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just quickly add selling as well? I think oftentimes, people don't like to sell themselves,
Yeah.
like to sell their skills.
Branding.
I don't know.
Personal branding.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the thing about personal branding is, I mean, I know sometimes it's sort of like packaging, but I think it's the undertone of it is understanding that you're valuable, right?
Yeah.
And so that self-discovery around your skills, your gifts, your personality, your learnings, your experiences, and just understanding that all of that is a unique package that you can offer.
Yeah.
You know, in exchange for value, and you need to be able to understand that and then know how to sell it, as it were.
Sell it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
That's been quite insightful. Yeah.
It's been a very fun one.
Good conversation. Yeah.
So, trick question. I guess anyone feel free to go first if you want to take this. So, what's actually, this one is just off script. Did any of you have an interesting nickname in secondary school? Yeah, anyone can go first if you.
I didn't, but also like Uganda doesn't have a heavy nickname culture. Like I was shocked in Nigeria.
Oh, really?
There's a nickname. Like everybody has a nickname. Everybody's name is shortened. Like blew me away.
I did. They used to call me Kekere. Kekere means small in Yoruba. I was so tiny.
That is so funny.
So I was Kekere, and then as you said, everybody's name is shortened. So I was also Konos, like Konas.
Wow.
So, and I think the reason for that is, you know, I went to boarding house.
Yeah.
If you did not write your name on your things, you're going to come back empty-handed. So my mother would inscribe K.Onas on all my handbags, my clothes, everything. So literally came my nickname. But Kekere was like because I was very small. Yeah.
Nice. That's interesting. The next one would be, I'll just say then anyone can go first. I think this one will be easy for Kemi. What's the most beautiful place you've been to?
Oh my God.
It's tough. I hear that go. Let me think.
Your village people are listening.
It's tough. Like top 3 list.
So your village people are listening.
Yeah.
If I was to pick, my number 1 would probably be Chef Shawan in Morocco, the Blue City.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could have said Marrakesh, but no, Chef Shawan is really beautiful. The world is a beautiful place, guys. Let me say that.
The whole world is beautiful. I think one of the most beautiful places, Turks and Caicos, the water is divine.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and the weather is great. I really loved it. I mean, I went there for my honeymoon, so maybe I was also just a bit like...
Exactly. I was also going to say Greece because of
when I went
honeymoon.
there. But yeah, I think the waters there just blew my mind. Picture perfect.
Interesting.
Nice.
But the world is beautiful everywhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Never surprises you.
The tea plantations in Rwanda are gorgeous.
Right.
Europe has, beautiful architecture.
Yeah.
Asia is also another just amazing place. I loved Japan. Japan was such a mishmash of everything. Old and new, tech and rural, just beautiful. The world is amazing. Can I make places? My country, Nigeria, beautiful.
In Nigeria, I think the that I appreciated the most, actually 2, Uyo and Jos. Like with Jos, it was just like
in Nigeria.
Namdi's wedding. I just really, really loved being there. The vibe, and Uyo is like so green and lush and clean. I also really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Can I just ask But as you guys go next time, can I just be in your suitcases and just
With your
enjoy
vaccination
with
card,
you?
let's go.
Please.
I can see PCR.
Oh my God. What's your country count now, Kemi? It's like, is it up to 40?
Oh, yeah, I think it's 41 or 42. I'm not sure.
42. Oh,
COVID has humbled
that's pretty cool.
I know, right?
Yeah. I remember when you were doing 30 before 30. So that's pretty cool. Oh, nice.
I think we've pretty much gotten to the end of today's episode. I really don't want to let you guys go, but Obi, do you want to say something?
No, I was gonna. If I could ask one last question on the lightning round, is there just if it's possible, you can just drop a name. So, which current CEO or former CEO do you admire the most? I'll go with you, Hilda,
Doesn't
first.
have to be a CEO.
A leader.
Or just leader?
Yeah.
Can he be a leader?
It can be a leader. Okay, it can be a leader.
Lionel Messi. And I'm happy to back it up.
Lionel
That's
Messi?
I'm happy to back it up. But guys, the thing is, so yes, I enjoy football, but at the same time, there's very many different types of captains, right? And there's people on a team who want to be the star of the show. Like, you know, you're good, and you're the leader. You have every right, you have the authority, and you have the mandate to do it, and so you drive from the front. Then there's a world where you also have that same stuff. You're competent, you've got the mandate, you really are the leader, but you do it within your team. You empower other people.
grace.
If there's hard work to be done, you to be done. Like, you know, if you really need goals to be scored, right? Like, he'll be running to score goals, but at the same time, he's going like deep in the field. He's helping every single person out. He's passing the ball. Like, I find that style of leadership extremely inspirational. Where like by the time you are with your colleagues, everybody knows this person is one of us. They're hustling with us. When stuff is hard, they take it. But when life is good, we get the glory as well. I find it extremely inspirational.
That's pretty interesting. That's really cool. Like, I would not have predicted that answer.
Yeah. And I think following in the same like sporting analogy. I think the one person that I'm coming to discover and appreciate is LeBron James.
Yeah.
My husband is a diehard LeBron fan, and I think it's growing on me. And I think it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
On the hard days, he will deliver, but he's secure enough, and I think it's that security that I find very inspiring.
And humility.
He's secure and humble enough to actually allow other people shine.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of leader that I aspire to be.
Exactly. Like when you're leading a team,
Right.
you want them to look to you not like as this person in the high castle they fear, or this person who takes all the shine, but to feel like really this is something we're all pulling towards, and our person is here with us in the mud, and we don't have to be afraid because they're here. Like I love it. Like with my teams, like when my teams feel like this is a psychologically safe space for me, and we're going in the same direction.
Awesome.
Boom, boom.
This has been a fun conversation, and we're happy we gave you the chance to have your reunion too.
Thank you guys.
So,
Thank you. By the way,
Awesome.
our babies are born like 2 days apart. Like one day
that's
apart.
pretty cool.
Actually, you're right.
One day
day apart. Yeah.
That's really cool.
At this rate, I feel like we have to bring you guys both on the show again.
We had such a good time.
Thank you.
All right, Chimaka, over to you. Thanks so much for making this happen. Chimaka, over to you.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming to this podcast. Apologies for all the name mistakes I made earlier.
What about
Then you brought it up again.
I'm sorry. I'm just that kind of person. But thank you so much. I learned a lot, especially as there were a lot of experiences, or a lot of things that I didn't really think about before. I think seeing the world through your own ears and eyes helped me a lot, and possibly something that I would enforce. Hopefully we'll get to have you guys again on the podcast sometime soon. I hope you guys make some time for us. And as usual, thank you, Obi and Charles, for slugging it out with me, and for the time differences still being here with us. Also want to say thank you to our sponsors, IESE Business School, for making this possible. Hopefully we would bring other exciting conversations.
Thank you, guys.
Happy
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
We
guys.
made it. We did it. We made it happen. Okay. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We're grateful that you stuck around this long. If you want to learn more about IESE Business School and how to get started with your MBA journey, please check the show notes for a link to helpful resources. Don't forget to check us online at alumnunite.co and follow us on social media to stay updated with all the incredible work we are doing. Till next time, stay focused and continue to reach for the skies.